This is you. You're playing a video game, going onto social media and indulging in a lot of instant gratification activities. But why do you do all of this? Just because of trying to not feel bored? But boredom is such a beautiful thing and can be used to your advantage. Let me explain. In today's day and age, boredom is frowned upon. People all over the world see it as undesirable and as lazy. But what they never realize when distracting themselves from it is how useful boredom can be for us. We rather get entertained on social media and make the time fun than wasting it doing nothing. But all of these distractions do not only hinder you from being bored, they also hinder you from thinking clearly. Just before I started my self-improvement journey, I was at a very low point in my life. I was indulging in all of these instant gratification activities. Social media, pornography, video games, you name it. And it's gotten to such a bad point that I had headaches throughout the whole day and that I couldn't even think straight no more. And it even got to a point where these highly fun activities got boring to me. But how does that happen? This happens because of a hormone called dopamine. Dopamine is the hormone that is mainly responsible for your happiness. The more you have of it, the happier you are. Let's look at the graphs. Here is your dopamine baseline. This is the normal level of your dopamine, how happy you are in your overall life. When you indulge in social media or in other activities, your dopamine level rises. And the more hours you spend on it, the higher your dopamine goes until it has hit its maximum. But let's say that you indulge even more in social media for another 3 hours. Then your dopamine level will stay, and then it will drop, even though you're doing the same thing. And it will drop and drop and drop, and now it's at the baseline, but it even drops below the baseline. That is what you call a dopamine crash. But this dopamine crash doesn't just make you unhappy for a short period of time, it also lowers your baseline down. So that means that once you have a dopamine crash, your overall happiness in life will drastically decrease. And the more you do it, the lower this baseline will get until you are at a point of depression. That is how most of the people in today's day and age get depressed, unmotivated, and have no energy right after. These symptoms you realize when you have this so-called dopamine crash. And that was why these fun activities gotten boring to me. I've indulged in some of these things for more than 8 hours straight, and afterwards I didn't have any energy, I didn't have no motivation to do whatsoever. I was just laying there, bored out of my f***ing mind and even depressed. And what I define as a state of boredom is when you are in the present moment, you're thinking about what you're going to do next, but you don't have motivation to do anything. You just sit there, don't know what to do, and that is where boredom strikes you. But if you come back to my example, then we see that boredom is only a sign that you've indulged in all of these habits too much and that your dopamine is at a very unhealthy level. And what you need to do is reset that level to a healthy baseline. And how you can do that is by embracing boredom. By being consciously in the moment and by forcing yourself to be bored. One great habit for this is meditating. What meditating is really all about is that you force yourself to be bored and then learn how to get along with it. Because back in the day, I couldn't even be bored for more than 1 minute or I went crazy. I would have done anything to not be bored because I couldn't handle it. And especially in today's day and age where you get a notification there, another impulse there, especially with these shorts and even with this video, your brain is completely overworked by all of the impulses that it gets. So obviously can it not handle being freed of all of the stress that you put upon it. But when you force yourself to be bored, when you're embracing boredom, you're sitting there and you're just in the current moment. And the longer you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And then boredom will not be boring for you. I know it sounds a bit confusing, but that is what meditating is all about. If you're first starting with this habit, then you will see that 5 minutes of just sitting there and thinking about nothing is going to be hard. That at least was the case for me, and I know that I took a lot of time to get to the point where I am today, where I meditate for 15 minutes daily. I even was at a point where I could do it for 30 minutes straight, and there I was very conscious, I was very happy all the time. Because if we go back to what we've seen with the dopamine levels, meditating is the cure for your low dopamine level. Because what meditating does is that you set yourself under stress, and when you force yourself to experience stress, your dopamine levels will drop. And I know you don't want to do that, you are unhappy as can be, so why lower it even more? Because of the effect that is going to happen after that. When you intentionally stress yourself and lower your dopamine levels, then after some time your dopamine levels will rise again. And guess what? They will go over your baseline, and because this dopamine rise is natural, it will also take your baseline up with it. So the more you set yourself out for stress, the happier you will be in life. That is why cold showers are so effective. That is why meditating is so effective. That is why people love training. Because when you go out there and finish yourself, then you know that afterwards you're going to be pretty happy because of your hormone, which is called dopamine. And the more you do it, the more your baseline obviously rises and the more happy you are in your life overall. This is just one benefit of embracing boredom, because the other one, the biggest benefit of them all, is that you're finally able to think clearly, or in other words, you're finally able to spark your creativity. You probably realize that when you indulge in some of these instant gratification activities that your brain is completely overwhelmed by it. All of these impulses, all of these new ideas, thoughts. But when you do that, or when you do other stuff, especially on social media, your brain is filled up with all of these impulses. And what that does is that you can't solve problems as clear as you normally can. Because one part is cut off of your whole brain that needs to function for you to get solutions to all of your problems, and that is your subconscious mind. If you don't know it already, your subconscious mind is the most powerful part of your brain that solves all of your problems while you do not even think about them. For example, let's say that you work on your business and you encounter a very hard problem, but you don't know how to solve it. You think and think and think about it, but there's no solution coming to you. So what you do is that you say, F it, I'm just gonna go to sleep and tomorrow there will be an idea coming to me. And that is true, because in your sleep, when you don't think about that problem no more, your subconscious mind comes in, takes that problem and works on it while you sleep. And in the morning, when you wake up, when your mind is fresh, when your mind is free, your subconscious mind will finally be able to give all of its ideas to your present brain that thinks about all the problems and all the impulses that you encounter. And then, when these ideas get to this part of your mind, then do you realize them and then can you work on them. But when you distract yourself, when you fill up your brain with all of these thoughts, your subconscious mind hasn't got the ability no more to communicate its ideas to it. That is why you realize that when you sleep at night over a problem, that in the morning you have all of these ideas on how to probably solve it. But again, it can only give you these ideas when you do not think of anything, when your brain is freed from every thought that it had. I mean, just ask yourself why you get the best ideas when you take a walk in a park, when you talk with your friends, or when you take a shower. In these moments, you do not think about anything. When you're talking with your friends, you're just talking along, but you're not thinking about every sentence that you construct and then say. You're just interacting with one another without actually having a thought in your mind. With showering, it's the same. With walking in a park, it's the same. You're not thinking about anything. You're relaxed. You're freed up. So what you need to do the next time that you're bored is to just lay away all of these distractions, to just sit down and to listen to what your mind has to say. That is where the best ideas are born. That is especially the case for me. Even this video idea right here was born when I didn't think of anything when I meditated. But I also know how hard it is to really go into that phase of not thinking about anything and just being bored. But I've also found a way on how to get rid of the bad habit of social media consumption once and for all. And if you want to know what that way is, then you should watch this video right after.